We have a special guest today. It is Paula Banks. She is a dynamic educator, and you don't want to miss this episode. She is a literacy expert. Hi, thank you so much for joining the Falling for Learning podcast. I am TD Flenaugh. We have this podcast to help parents and caregivers with having the resources, strategies, and tools needed to make sure that their children are on track for learning and to stay on track for success. A little bit about Paula Banks. She's a creative confidence educator, children's author, and the founder of Lit Kids Create, where she helps children discover that their stories matter before they worry about writing them perfectly. Her educational philosophy is introduced in her book, Story Hustle: How to Raise a Confident Storyteller, Even If You're Not a Writer, where she shares practical strategies to help parents nurture children's creativity, confidence, and love of storytelling. Paula is the editor of the Amazon #1 new release student anthology, I Got a Story to Tell, Volume 1, and has been featured on Wavy TV 10 for her work advancing literacy, storytelling, and creative confidence in children. Welcome to the show, Paula. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me this evening.
Wonderful. So I want to always ask, what is that thing that made you fall in love with learning?
I think I fell in love with learning, realizing that it didn't only happen in school. Um, I think I learned from everything around me. I'm very curious. Some people would call it nosy, but I'm very curious about how things work. Um, I love a good backstory, biographies. Just I'm always learning. And as I've gotten older, it hasn't stopped. So I feel like I'm a lifelong learner, not just in the traditional sense of going to school, but just learning new things every day. And just being curious. I'm always curious. Even today at 49, I'm as more curious as I was when I was 7 years old. So I really, truly enjoy learning different things, processes, learning about new authors, learning about a lot of things. So that's, I do a lot of like research on things. If something grabs my attention, I want to know all about it.
Oh, awesome. Okay. And so what are one of those activities or deep dives and curiosity that you got into as a child or young adult that really led to your current career or your passion?
Um, I would say for me, I love learning the history of people, biographies, and I think that comes from my love of reading. And I read a lot as a kid. They were like my escape books. So I've taken that where I would just read a book or a novel, and if I'm watching a movie, it's like I'm going to find out about the cast, the characters. So it is just something that I feel that I do that a lot. So I call it I wouldn't call it research, but it's just learning about the different things around me. But reading really contributed to me just taking a deeper dive into things. Um so yeah.
Excellent. All right. And so like what educational journey, like talk to us about, your journey in high school and then college and beyond.
Well, high school, I went to high school. I graduated in 95. And I thought I was going to be a journalist. I wanted to become a journalist. I grew up in New York and I moved to Virginia, where I'm now, to attend Norfolk State University. Um, and then I transferred over I graduated from Strayer University with a degree in business administration. And then, life came, marriage, kids. And that is basically like where my traditional education stopped. But I always kept writing. Writing was something that I always did, journaling sometimes,
Mm.
just writing stories, but nothing really came of it. It was just my way of staying connected to a craft that I enjoyed. But I feel like even though I didn't continue on in school, I've learned so much through just different resources that are available online, YouTube, just different
Mhm.
things that I've done. And I really, really, really and truly blessed that I have been able to continue learning without actually having to, go to traditional schooling. But I have my degree in business administration.
Is Norfolk a historically black college?
Yes,
Or
yes, yes. Norfolk State is.
a-
Yes, yes.
and then Strayer, is that a black college or no?
No, that's not. No, I
Okay.
took a break, so I went to Norfolk State, and then I took a few years off, and then I went back to Strayer to get my degree.
Okay, got it. All right. Yeah, so I'm a Black college alumni as well. So yeah, so good. And that's, that's always what the show is about. Whatever your journey looks like, everyone's journey looks a little different.
Yes.
And we know that you are a writing expert. And tell us more about what you do to really help kids to love learning with your lit kids.
So with Lit Kids, that is like something that I'm currently building right now. So basically, Lit Kids helps children develop and express their ideas and take ownership of their ideas and help the adults around them um, create spaces to do that. So one of my programs is called Books by Me. So I go into schools or programs and I run a session, 4-week session, where we take kids from idea to publishing.
Mm.
So the first cohort was 9 students from one of the local elementary schools here. I got a grant to go in for the whole month of March to run the program. And after we did the program, every child wrote a chapter for the anthology. And it became a published book. So they became published authors. My thing was when
Wonderful.
I was a kid, I loved to write, but I was a very shy child. I shrunk my voice. I didn't think it was important, and that carried with me into adulthood.
Mm.
And I do not want that to be the story for kids today. So that's why I was like, I know now how important it is to use your voice and not shrink. And this
Yes.
is a way for kids to see what is possible, not just, okay, we're going to write the story, I'm going to show you, how your ideas can come alive. It's actually letting them own the creative decisions of the story, the characters, the plot. And I'm just there to guide them, ask questions if they need it. I'm not there to take over, because as parents and educators, we tend to want to help, and not intentionally, we don't mean to take over. We just want them to turn in the best piece of work. Um, but as a child, if you are constantly handing in work or showing your parent work, and the first thing they see is a mistake, that can, really defeat them. So I have this thing called confidence before correction, and that is
Yes.
where us as educators and parents, we do not lead with a correction. We always need to lead with something that is not wrong. Like, we can look at a paper and we can automatically see 1,000 things wrong. But we need to fight that urge and say, "Oh, I love the title," or, "Oh, that's a great line," or, "That made me laugh." And that is how you get in that
Yes.
doorway and that entryway of helping them. And so when they do get, you do have to tell about a feedback or revision. It can be used as a tool rather than they're scared about it. Like, they're scared of the rejection or scared of being wrong, because
Yes.
writing is a personal thing. And sometimes,
Mhm.
you know, a child could write something and they feel like, okay, this is great. And it probably is. It just probably
Yes.
has grammar or sentence structures or whatever it may be. But we tend to look at that instead of looking at what is actually being written. And I learned that with the kids, like when they came in the first week, they were very hesitant. They were like, some was like, one girl said, I don't like to write. I can't write. And my question is always going to ask, why do you feel like that? And because there's always a reason. It's
Yeah.
probably an experience that they had or something someone said to them, and then it stuck with them. So they're thinking that's a belief. It's not like something that could be fixed. Writing is something that can be improved with practice. But they take it on as like, I'm a bad writer, and that's facts. Like there's nothing that can change that, and that is not the truth. So I truly want them to know, like, that is not who you are. You do not have to take on the identity as a bad writer. Authors start messy. They have mistakes. Everybody doesn't start with a perfect, story. And she was
Right.
very hesitant to open up. And then as, the time went on and me talking to her and, giving her that confidence to say, okay, let me write something. And she wrote a wonderful chapter. Like she already had a story, but she was so nervous. Like, I don't think it's good enough. And it was amazing. She went in and she wrote, she had characters. She had so many things that was just living in her head, but she didn't feel safe enough to share because she had an experience where she was told she wasn't the greatest writer. And that stuck with her because you never know what's
I
going to
love
stick to a
that.
child.
I really like that you're talking about safety.
Yeah, safety is important because if you don't feel safe sharing, if a child doesn't feel safe sharing, they're not going to share. With kids, you get like 1 or 2 chances. So if they show you something as a parent or an adult period, and you're like, oh, you're coming with all the mistakes, they're probably not going to share anything else with you again. They're actually going to shut down. I know this because I used to be that child. I was in school and a teacher said, write about your Saturday. And I was like, oh, this is easy. I can write about my Saturday, me hanging with my brother and my cousins and watching TV and going to play, going to the bodega and getting a quarter water, which is a store, and a juice. And I was so excited to write this paper.
The Rewrite Method and the Rewrite Method Workbook are your go-to resource for helping kids to learn to fall in love with writing. It has the tips, tools, resources, strategies, and skill-building activities to help kids fall out of writing hate and into loving to write. Get your book set today.
And what she wrote back was, I don't understand. And that was it. So me as a 8, 9-year-old was like, what does she not understand? Like, does she not want to know what a bodega is? Does she not know what a quarter water? And I wanted her to ask me those questions. I wanted her to say, hey, Paula, what is a bodega? Or what is a and like, but it was so unimportant to her to find out about my life or where I came from. And she was praising like, oh, we went to the beach for other kids and we went to grandma's house. And I'm like, so that tells me like, okay, is there something wrong with what I do on Saturdays? And from that day on, I totally shut down. I never shared any personal story ever until I was married with kids. That made me feel like I'm not getting rejected again. Like I'm not gonna share. And I didn't. I didn't because it made me feel like, wow, maybe my story is like, and I was like, what is wrong with my Saturday? And she never spoke about it. So yeah.
Your approach is very similar to my approach with I have a book about it called The Rewrite Method. But yeah, kids that people don't understand that they're really shutting kids down and they don't know why. Then they come back and they're like, why don't they want to share? Why do they think they can't write? They don't understand that these things that they did, even though it was maybe an offhanded remark, that's not spelled right. What does that mean? That doesn't make sense.
That's
And then they may
exactly
not have
right
thought about it
there. Yep.
again. But that
Hmm.
lasts so long for the child that you don't understand. Like, no, they're done sharing with you, or they've already internalized that as I must be horrible. Because that was your first thing that you said. Like you said, that's the
Yeah, that's
first
your
thing
first,
many of our
the first
kids
thing.
say, parents and educators automatically the first thing.
And it's
Yeah.
not,
And that's why you
it's not
see,
intentional, but it's just, you
yes,
see it and you want to, and instantly be like, oh, this needs to be this or this needs to be that. But that's not what they want to hear. They want to hear like, oh, that's a dope, story right there. And then, but once you start,
yes.
you start with that, it's easier to give feedback and, and talk about
Mhm.
revisions. But kids shut down very quickly and they don't, they give you like one or two chances. And if you consistently do that, then they're not going to share anymore. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, so that's really cool. You're able to go into the school. Are you going after school? You're going before school? How did your
Um,
program work?
It it's after school, so I would go in, for about an hour and 15 minutes, after school and do the program once a week. And I didn't know what to think, but it was new, but it really was amazing. It was absolutely one of the highlights of my entire year. So, and then we had like, I threw like an author release for them. Their parents
Yes.
came, they signed books, some of the school came because I wanted them to get the full experience. I didn't just want to come and say, here's your book. I wanted them to know like you are a published author and no one can take that away from you. You
Mm.
earned that. And just imagine you're a published author at 11, sky's the limit. So, it was amazing. It was truly amazing. And then I was able to secure a grant for the upcoming school year, to go in and do another
So you worked with the elementary kids, and have you worked with middle and high school in your lit kids? Are you focused on
No, not
elementary?
yet. It's just been elementary. So I did secure to be a vendor for the Norfolk Public School District. So now all 52 schools has access to the program. So the program
Wonderful.
will change as for middle school and high school. And I'm excited to, do the program with middle school and especially high school. But it's a program where every grade level can do. And I even have one for kindergarten where they would create their stories through pictures, and then we would do a picture book with illustrations. So because every kid doesn't just want to write, some, that's another thing that I'm really big on. Not every child expresses or tells the story through writing. It could be drawing, it could be dance, it could be art. And I want every child to be able to express themselves with how they feel comfortable.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so with your writing, is it mostly narrative, or is it different types of genres? You focus on
Yeah, so it's
narrative, is that
mostly
correct?
narrative. Yes, it's mostly narrative. Um, and I think that the way that I have constructed the workshop, I think it works for them because I don't put the emphasis on like the mechanics of writing in the beginning. So
Mm-hmm.
I want them to get their imagination, anything that their mind can come up, whatever story. It's like we do a brain dump in the beginning to get out everything that they have. And it's not that we're not going to work on, grammar and structure, but that just comes later. My goal is for them to get their ideas out, and then we build from there because I want them to be able to share their stories
Yeah.
and not worry about like, okay, I'm going to write this and then, I have to worry about this and I have to worry about that. No, for me, the story is the star of the workshop. I want you to tell me your story.
Yes. Wonderful. And so if people want to get in contact with you, where would they reach out to you?
So I am, my website is litkidscreate.com. And you can reach me there, and all the information about the programs, and everything that I'm doing with that is there. I'm on social media on Instagram at Lit Kids Create as well. On Facebook, it's Paula Banks. And yeah, you can, all my contact information is on my website.
And so your book, so tell us some more about, we know that you have that anthology, like what type of, we know there's writing, but can you give us a couple of tidbits about pieces that are in that anthology that the kids created?
So the anthology is called I Got a Story to Tell, Volume 1, and it features 9 students who each have a chapter that they wrote their own original story. And it's currently out on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. It's on my website. And it is one of the proudest moments that I have had, because it was an idea, and then to see it come into fruition is amazing. And I hope to have the second volume in this upcoming year. And I just want to continue to do more and more volumes, create more and more authors. So yeah, I Got a Story to Tell is very special to me. So I'm super excited about seeing where it can go.
So you are you're primarily do your work in the Virginia,
Yes.
Norfolk School
Mhm.
District, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we'll
Um,
make sure we have all that information in the show notes. You could access it. Yeah. So you could check Paula out. What are some other things that parents can do or stop doing to help encourage children with their literacy journey?
so for parents, I would say, I know parents have a lot on their plate and you don't want to keep adding things, but one of the one things I always tell parents is just to be intentional. Um, I know we're busy, but if your child is trying to share something with you, or tell you something, or show you a story or a drawing, take that moment and really be interested. Ask questions. I'm big on asking questions because that's how you find out things. Ask them, how did you come up with this? Kids really just want you to be involved and be curious and be present. It doesn't take a lot. And that goes a long way, because you are creating a safe space for them. And you may think, it's a little thing, but it's a real huge thing, because once you create that safe space, they will share with you, and they will continue to create. And that's what you want. So I always tell them to be intentional. Um, listen when they are trying to tell you something. And I have this thing that I say, be your child's first hype crew. And I'm not saying tell them everything is great or say good job all the time, but really just be genuine and show your interest. Because if you are not going to do it, who else is going to do it? You are your child's first audience. They are going to,
Absolutely.
they're looking at you for the blueprint. So you have to be their first hype crew. You want to be able for them to feel supported and feel safe. And that is why I always tell parents, be your kids' first hype crew. I'm not telling you to give them, empty, acknowledgments or praises, but be intentional about saying, that is dope. That's a great story. Tell me more. And that will really build up your child's confidence. And once you do that, they will share with you they will share everything with you. They will not be afraid to take creative risk a lot of times, because they know that they have the support, that they're going to stand behind you and they're going to be there and hype you up. And that is important. It is very important for kids to feel supported, heard, and valued. And their creativity will suffer a lot of times if they're not. So yes,
Absolutely.
be your child's first hype.
Yes. And we thank you so much for joining us, Paula, today.
Thank you for
And,
having me.
such sound advice. Yeah, be your
Thank you.
kid's first hype crew. Yeah, so wonderful. And parents and educators out there, do something today that gives your children the competitive advantage. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Thanks again for supporting the Falling for Learning podcast. New episodes go live every Saturday at 5 p.m. You can watch us on youtube.com at Falling for Learning or listen on all major podcast platforms such as Apple, Google, Audible, Spotify, and much more. For more resources, visit fallinginlovewithlearning.com. We really appreciate you. Have a wonderful week.